one. So this is something that pops up quite often in my research. So obviously there are, as I've been saying, groups and networks of pedophiles, child abusers, and they even have lobbying groups that lobby governments to try to either lower or abolish the age of consent, as in they want to be able to have sex with children, and so long as the child consents to it, they want to suffer no negative consequences, certainly no legal consequences. One of the excuses given that I hear a lot made by pedophiles for why they say that the age of consent should be lowered or abolished is they say that children will be safer if there's no negative repercussions for an adult to have sex with them. As in, if a pedophile or an adult has sex with a child, then they won't be inclined to murder the child in order to dispose of the evidence, because, no harm, no foul. They won't get in trouble. They won't go to prison. Why bother murdering the child? Just hand them back to their parents once you've raped them. It seems to be the excuse, one of the many excuses that I hear. That's very untrue. Here's why. So once you really delve into the psychology of these people, read about it, or just sit and think about it really hard. What makes them attracted to children? What makes them the way they are? So on and so forth. Really think it through. You will eventually find, and there's evidence to support this, and I will show you the evidence, some of the evidence. You will find that they are attracted to children sexually. A lot of pedophiles, a lot of people who sexually abuse children are sexually attracted to children because they hate the child in themselves. They want to, it was not nurtured properly. As a child, they were not nurtured properly. Almost always this is the case. Even if they claim they had a perfectly wonderful childhood, typically they did not. Maybe they were not outright abused in a way that they can understand that it was abuse, but they were abused one way or another. They were maybe emotionally neglected. Something was not done right with them. So the child in them was not nurtured properly. And it's a weakness. Children are weak in many ways. They say that children are very resilient. This is true, but I think too many people use it as an excuse. But children are they're an external manifestation of this weakness that we all have in ourselves. We all have a child in ourselves. Child abusers, people who abuse children, particularly in this way, they hate that weakness in themselves. And when they see a child, when they see an outward physical manifestation of the child in themselves that they hate, they want to hurt it. And this is tied up in many ways in their psychology with their sex drive as well, with their what sexually attracts them. So again, and you can also make this connection with the sexual attraction between men and women. I'll quote, I don't know if I quoted him already, Jim Jeffries, is it? The comedian, where he says, of course I don't respect you. I could never fuck something that I respect. Yeah. About women, he's saying that. So women compared to men, we're physically weaker. We're also often seen as being psychologically, mentally, and emotionally weaker as well, even though I won't even get into how that's not true, but men quite often see women as being weaklings. In fact, it's considered to be an insult to call a man a woman, or to call a man a girl, or anything like that. And if they hate weakness, if they don't appreciate that there is room for weakness in themselves, in other people, well, again, then they hate any outward manifestation of that weakness. So this is how we get men who are attracted sexually to women, yet they hate women. This is how we get men who are attracted sexually to children, and yet they actually hate children. Now, let's look at some of the evidence. So, for one thing, I will just pull this up. It's just a bunch of different videos you can pull up on YouTube. I mean, there's endless videos on this. Child trafficking is a problem everywhere, but right now it's a huge problem in Cambodia because we have lots and lots of pedophile tourists, child sex-seeking tourists, going to Cambodia, typically from Western European countries and from America. And the people in Cambodia are so impoverished that you'll have families with like 10 kids. They don't know how to feed their kids. And then when some British or American millionaire or billionaire, or even just a dude who makes, a good tidy sum of a tidy salary every year, when they show up there and offer the family like $1,000 USD, US cash, in exchange for being able to go to a motel room with their 7 or 8 year old daughter. Well, these families, the way they look at it is that $1,000 can feed them and their entire families for like months, maybe a year. And that's they see it as a trade-off. Our daughter loses her virginity and her innocence, but the rest of our children eat. And so lots and lots of parents in Cambodia are actually selling their children to sex tourists, to pedophile tourists. Lots of them are being tricked out of their children too, as in they have so many children, they can't take care of them. People come along and say, we would like to adopt your child. We're going to give them the best education. We're going to take them to a first world country that, has everything. And you've only ever dreamed and heard about all this. And they are desperate. Again, they're starving and they want so much for it to be true that they just trust, and they just let themselves think that it's true. And then they hear through the grapevine that their child has been sold into sex slavery. And at that point, it's good luck getting them back. So one thing I wanted to point out, if you really delve into the problems with these poor children, if you really listen to their stories and what the people who are trying to shut this down, what they're finding, is that these girls, when they are taken to these motel rooms by the European or American tourists, they are not just sexually assaulted. They are tortured. They are beaten. They have cigarettes put out on them. They are tied up. They are tortured. They are not just like, deflowered. It's some older man going, here, honey, have some chocolates and candies and relax, and we'll draw you a bubble bath and lay you down on a nice soft bed and be gentle with you. No, they are torturing these poor children and raping them. Okay. Again, and so just go ahead and watch all these videos. You should, because you should be familiarizing yourself with the fact that slavery still exists. And it's going on even today in this form, sexual slavery. And keep in mind that this is probably one of the reasons why certain countries in the world are being kept in poverty. Yes, being kept. I used those words, being kept. As in, the people who run this world socially, economically, politically, they keep certain countries down. Why? Because then we create situations like this where we have families so desperate, starving to death, they can't feed their families, that they will now, they're certainly not educated, and now they will willingly sell their children into sex slavery. And then that's easy pickings for the world elite, isn't it? So it's by design. It's by design that places like Cambodia are kept impoverished so that the world elites can go there and either steal children, have children stolen, or just pay like literally like $5 for the virginity of a child. So I've heard about some of these kids being sold for $12. It's disgusting. But now let's also look at a couple well-known examples. Joseph Edward Duncan. This is an American serial killer. He murdered almost an entire family. A mother, her boyfriend, her 13-year-old son. He murdered them on the first night. And then he abducted the younger daughter and younger boy. He killed the younger boy later in front of the girl. And the little girl was the only one who made it out alive. He had the girl for 7 weeks before she tricked him, actually. Bravo to her. She tricked him into trusting her and taking her out in public where she was spotted and saved. But this guy, this evil, disgusting creature, he tortured those kids too when he had them. He didn't just abuse them. He tortured them. So look into it. He played mind games with them. He promised them things like, I'll let you go home if you can catch that squirrel. And I believe that was when they caught the squirrel, that was what led to the little boy being murdered, being shot. So he toyed with them. So torture, hurting these children, hurting them. He also told them, he took out a hammer and showed it to them and said, this is the hammer I killed your mom with and your brother with, and you're never going to see them again. So that's really, that goes beyond a person who's just sexually attracted to children. All right? It goes beyond that. It's not just that they are sexually attracted to children. It is that they want to hurt children. It is that they hate children. They hate the child inside themselves, and they want to hurt it. And the best way they can do that they can see, I think that they should just off themselves, really. I mean, if you're that sick, kill yourself, please, before you hurt anything else or anyone else. But instead, what these pathetic creeps do, cowards, is they go and they attack the weakest members of our species. And our species is one of the weakest species on the planet. I mean, physically at least. So you're attacking the weakest of the weakest. So you really are the most pathetic predator, dude. Does it get any more pathetic than you just go for like the weakest of one of the weakest species ever? You are, gross. Anyway, so he's a good example, Joseph Edward Duncan. He rot in hell. And Marc Dutroux, the monster of Belgium. Serial rapist, serial child abuser. I don't know of mind games and stuff he might have played with the kids. I know that he buried at least 2 of his victims alive in his garden. Alive. Another 2 met a similar fate because they were left in a hole in the ground in his basement when he was in prison, and they starved to death in the dark. They don't love these children. They don't love them. They don't have any real affection for them. They don't give a shit about these children. They are projecting onto these children the child inside themselves. And they love it and want to nourish and nurture it and have it nurtured the way that it should have been nurtured when they were children. But they also hate it because they feel the weakness. They feel how it makes them weak. And so you're going to have this extreme swinging back and forth with these people, I suspect, in their attractions, where, they will be extremely attracted to the child and then they will hate the child. We see this also again. We see this in the writings of Vladimir Nabokov in Lolita. We have little windows into the mind of, Humbert Humbert, the guy who narrates that book, is the pedophile there. And we have a window into his mind where, we see, for example, there are parts of that book where he talks about toying with the notion of taking Lolita down into Mexico and just returning without her, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, as in he's going to make her disappear. So these people, I don't know what made them what they are. They're trying to claim these days that, oh no, we're born this way, it's not our fault. Rather than, no, I'm about 99.9% sure that they are made. They are made through poor parenting. It's possible that they might be a little bit genetically predisposed, but I think that the nurturing could either, dampen that, or it can make it flare up. So nurturing is like 95% of how a kid's going to turn out, is what I'm seeing over and over and over again. So yeah, these people, they please don't let them trick you into thinking, because that is what I see coming on the forefront in the distance. What I think the chess game that they're trying to play is that's what this looks like, is they are trying to convince the world as a whole, society as a whole, that A, it's not their fault that they are what they are. That may be. That B, it's a natural thing they were born with. These are the first steps to them trying to get people to accept them having sex with children. And again, that will not keep your children safe. It's not going to stop them from murdering your children or torturing your children. Not at all. They hate your children. They don't just want to make love to them and Dude, you understand there are dudes out there that are attracted to toddlers, right? It's just, what? And they're trying to push so that they can get a society where if a toddler, a 3-year-old, says, yes, daddy, I want to lick your lollipop, then he can have his daughter lick his lollipop, quote unquote, and not go to prison for it because, well, she consented. She's 3 freaking years old. That's not old enough to consent to anything like that. It's not even old enough to consent to skipping out on nap time. Okay? Like, what the So I just wanted to make people aware of this, that this is an argument that they're actually putting out there. I see it boiling up and I see it gaining traction and ground. And unfortunately, look, so again, this article should really scare you. This article and many articles like this, I've read too many of them, where it's again like, oh, people are talking about about lowering and or abolishing the age of consent. What? Are you people insane? Do you not think about the psychology behind the dudes who want to have sex with children at all? Do you not think about it at all? I'm starting to think that you're either not thinking about it or you are one of them, or they are paying you and you're profiting from helping them. Which one of the three is it? You're either a total fucking moron, or you're a child abuser, or you're a soulless cunt who profits off of child abusers, and so you protect them. Which one is it? What's one of those three? So, that's my spiel for the night. All right? Don't ever let them ever even softball you this argument. If you start to hear this from anyone, or shut them down immediately. And please do remember, if you need an argument, please do remember what I'm telling you. Wrapped up in their psychology, it's not just, oh, I'm attracted to children the way men are attracted to women and women are attracted to men. No, it's you hate children. Deep down, you hate yourself. You hate the child in yourself, and you hate children, and you want to dominate them. And unfortunately, that also got tied in with your sex drive. So now you are very dangerous to women, children, families in general. All right. So, and that's what you should be saying to anyone you hear making any of these arguments, that no, yeah, we should totally get rid of age of consent. We should totally abolish age of consent. Children should just be free to have sex with whoever can groom them into accepting that kind of behavior. Because that's what you do with a child. Children do not consent to sex. They are groomed into accepting being raped That's what happens when an adult has sex with a child and the child is not outright saying no. That's what's happening there. The child was groomed into accepting rape. Not that the child consented. Because again, like 3 and 4-year-olds can't freaking consent to that sort of shit. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Anyway, good night.